All right, so we finished up running this second leather here. Now what we're doing is moving over to this next leather here, but first we have to transfer over. Now we don't have to do that crazy knot that we did at the bottom. It's much simpler. So you can see here, I went ahead and did the last interlock over here. Take your leading edge string, and on the top of the leather, where you did the top string, there's gonna be that little loop here that you left. And for that, we're just gonna put our string through. You can see there. And then pull that all the way through. And there we go. So very simple. When you're going up, you want to make sure that you don't pull this string that's going over to the first leather too tight. So your pocket shouldn't look like this. It should still be, you know, nice and straight down without one side pulling on the other side too much. So very simple to cross over. You're just going through that top little loop that you made in the leather. So to go on to the third leather now, we're essentially doing the exact same thing that we did on the first leather. So first we're going around the back of the leather. And so what we do on this leather should mirror exactly what we do on this leather. So here we have our loop here, and then you have some dead space between this leather, and then you have your loop. So you should see these should match up, and then it should just copy the exact same thing going all the way down. So here we did our loop around the back, and then we went up and over the top of the loop there, you can see. Now we're gonna go into our interlock. So you can see here we have that little slit there that we left for our loop. Gonna go put our string through there, pull all your slack through. You should have that loop left there. Take your leading edge string, go over the top of that string. And then here we're just gonna pull it so it's a little bit tighter. And then there we go. And then we just continue doing that all the way down. Do it one more time around the back of the leather. And then once again, you want to make sure that your diamonds are spaced essentially about the same. They should be relatively even. And this is something you'll further touch up on when you're completely finished with the pocket. So here we just went around the back of the leather, up and over. We're gonna go into our interlock, or create our interlock, so into that little loop that we have. Pulling all the slack through. And going over that loop. And once again, you want to make sure that this is mirroring that first leather. So here we have our interlock on the first one, and then over on that one. So they're in the same row. And then we're just essentially doing that all the way down till we get to the bottom of the leather. Okay, so I went ahead and ran the cross lace all the way down the third leather here, and we went all the way to the bottom, and we're essentially about to do the exact same transfer knot over. All right, so I finished up with that knot, and I just tightened everything down because we really don't want this to slip. And then we are transferring over to our last leather. So we're doing on the fourth leather exactly what we did on the second leather. So we're crossing over around the leather, and then we're coming under the string. So around. And then you want to make sure you come from the bottom and up. So it should come up like that. And then from here, we're just doing our little interlock. It's a little bit hard to see because the pocket actually has tension in it now. Or just like that. And then come under. And then there, that interlock is done. Okay, and we just ran up the fourth leather. We're just crossing over again, like how we did from the first leather to the second leather. So you can see I did my last interlock here. Taking our leading edge string. And at this point, the string is much shorter and a lot more manageable. We're gonna go in through that kind of side loop from the leather. You can see. Pull that all the way through. And then there we have our cross. And what we're doing here is just like we did on the third leather. So we're gonna go into around the sidewall string actually. And remember, you want this to match up with that third leather as well as the first leather. So they should be mirroring each other. So that should be in the middle. We should have a bunch of negative space here. So now we're going to come down and do an interlock into this loop here. So up and through. And from the top, and then there we have our interlock. And from here, we're just continuing further down into that or around the sidewall string. Remember, we want this sidewall string to kind of rest against this sidewall loop so that we know that it is matched up with this loop one leather over. So into the loop for the interlock. And then we're coming up and over. And I do it one more time. Into the plastic, or not the plastic, but between the plastic and the sidewall string, you're gonna come around it. Doing that loop. And then we are going back into that loop. And we're just doing this for the rest of the pocket all the way down till we get to the end. All right, so we're at the very bottom of our pocket. We have just one loop left that we need to go across and over into. And then there we're finished. You're gonna take your string and you're just going to go out and through one of the bottom sidewall holes. I'm gonna go through this bottom one here. And then from there, you simply just tie it off. And then we're not done yet. You can't go out and play with it as it is. What we're going to go further into now is some tensioning. So make sure that you don't cut your string yet, or if you do need to cut it for some reason, leave like maybe half a foot to a full foot of length left, just in case you need to go back and work some slack up into. Definitely something you don't want to have to do, but if you do, like I said earlier, in that, you know, you want your string to be taut, you don't want it to be too tight, but it's better to be looser on the string than to be too tight. Or if you kind of know the balance, then that level of taut. But if you're new to traditional, you probably don't know that yet. But make sure to string it either taut or loose. And then from there, that way you don't have to work slack back up into the pocket, because that's very, very difficult. It's much easier to work slack out of the pocket than it is to work it back up into. So I just tied off a little knot there, and then now we're going to go into the further tensioning of the pocket.